How did this come about? Well, a guy named Mark Twain tells us. Twain twells. Is that alliteration for you literature bugs? History never repeats itself, but it do rhyme. Interesting how things rhymed then and rhyme now. How we have a gold mine was his definition of a hole in the ground with a liar standing next to it. That's a gold mine. Believe it or not, Mark Twain experienced a number of being on the wrong end of fraudulent episodes during his life. He was always trying to hit it big, and in that respect, and never did. It was Dorothy and Toto. Where would they come from? Anybody? Dorothy and Toto, Wizard of Oz, sure. Dorothy and Toto, we learned from them that the wizard turned out to be an old guy with white hair playing an organ behind a curtain. Today, our wizard is a bald-headed guy playing a printing press in broad daylight, who we know as the Bernac. And of course, how long it's going to take all of this to unravel, to deleverage ourselves as a country and what we are faced with, who knows? Had an interesting discussion the other day regarding the same thing, and we started out talking maybe 2 to 4 years and ended up somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 7. Nevertheless, it is something that we don't know the extent of, but we will find out. It's also something that is very similar, strikingly similar, to what occurred back in the savings and loan days. Back then, savings and loans couldn't make any money. The reason they couldn't was because the assets that they had on their books, which were home mortgages, were earning 5%, 6%. Their cost of funds went through the roof, skyrocket. They were paying 18, 19% for funds in order that they could, try and make new loans. Well, you can't make money that way. Can't loan money at 5% and have it cost you 15 or 16 or more. What did they do? Congress stepped in. Back then, it wasn't the Fed like we have now, which is make reference to the Federal Reserve. Back then, it was Congress itself. They decided that we need to deregulate this industry, the savings and loan industry. And the way they deregulated the industry was a few things, one of which was to change the accounting rules so that the S&Ls would look better on paper, have more capital, more equity. Sounds a little bit like some of the big banks today and what they were allowed to do. Secondly, they were given freelance in almost anything in terms of what they could make a loan on. There were no longer any loan restrictions on what they could make a loan on. It was amazing, some of the things that they ended up making loans on. The third thing, Congress and the regulators then decided that they needed people to run these S&Ls that were going out of business that knew how to make money. And these are the people that are developers and entrepreneurs, because if they can borrow money and make money with it, they ought to be able to know how to loan money and make money with it. Well, it didn't turn out that way. What we ended up with from those primarily 3 things was written up many times as moral hazard. Moral hazard and zombie S&Ls that were eventually taken over by various government agencies.